What's up, everybody? This is Chris Sarai bringing another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicles. On today's show, we're going to talk about a massive airbag recall that the U.S. is deciding it's going to back off of, that they've been going through for many a moon. Also, we're going to go through the list of vehicles that are scheduled to kick the bucket, as it were, or go off the market after 2025. And last but not least, we're going to dive into the Nissan-Honda merger and how that's going to affect all the other automakers in the automotive industry. Alright, first up, we're going to talk about a massive airbag recall that's been pretty much going on for, the whole time since I've been living out here in California. And pretty much every dealership that I've worked at had this recall in one form or another. So let's check out this story real quick about the recall that the United States is deciding it's just going to back off of and worry about later after they do a little bit more investigation. Let's check it out. Alright, of course we're going to head over to ABC News and one of our favorite cities, Detroit. And what's the name of this? U.S. retreats from massive airbag recall and says industry comments show need for more investigation. And this is from today, December 18th. U.S. auto safety regulators have backed away from seeking a giant recall of nearly 50 million airbag inflators and will investigate further after the auto industry raised questions about whether all of the inflators are defective. The move Wednesday by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is vastly different from a decision reiterated by the agency in July that the inflators made by ARC Automotive Inc. of Tennessee are defective, dangerous, and should be recalled. The agency has said inflators in about 49 million vehicles from 13 manufacturers are at risk of exploding and hurling shrapnel into drivers and passengers. They're responsible for at least 7 injuries and 2 deaths in the U.S. and Canada since 2009. Recalling all of them would have cost millions of dollars. This is the Takata airbag recall, guys. But in a document posted Wednesday in the Federal Register and dated December 13th, the agency said it considered comments on a decision from July seeking the recall. The auto industry pointed to a technical and engineering differences between ARC inflators and vehicles made by different manufacturers. The comments also raised manufacturing process variations at different plants that made the ARC inflators. Given the potential relevance of these issues to the agency's decision making, including the appropriate scope of any recall, further investigation is warranted, the agency said in the document. A message was left Wednesday seeking comment from ARC, which is owned by Yinyin Group of China. NHTSA said Wednesday that it carefully considered the comments on its decision to seek a recall of all the inflators and decided that more investigation is warranted. The agency said that in coming weeks it will send more information request letters to ARC, vehicle manufacturers, and airbag module manufacturing companies. NHTSA will evaluate the responses to these information requests along with all available information to determine how to proceed, the agency's memorandum said. If appropriate, NHTSA will provide a further opportunity for public comment prior to considering whether to issue a final decision in this matter. The agency has been investigating ARC since 2015 after driver-side inflators blew apart in a 2004 Kia in Canada and a 2002 Chrysler Town & Country minivan in the U.S., both injuring people. In a supplemental decision in July, NHTSA said 7 ARC inflators have ruptured in the field in the U.S., each showing evidence of insufficient welds or too much pressure in canisters designed to contain the explosion and fill the airbags in a crash. In addition, the agency said 23 inflators have ruptured in testing with causes common to the inflators that blew apart in the field. Also, four inflators have ruptured outside the U.S., killing at least 1 person, the agency said. To be sure, the overwhelming majority of the subject inflators will not rupture upon deployment, NHTSA wrote in July. However, based on the evidence linking past ruptures to the same friction welding process, all of the subject inflators are at risk of rupturing. But several automakers argued in public comments that years of investigations by NHTSA did not establish a systemic design defect. Some said none of the millions of inflators in their vehicles have ruptured due to the cause pointed out by the agency. NHTSA has said the only way to know which of the ARC designed inflators will blow apart is for them to deploy in a crash. The Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Act does not allow such a defect to go unaddressed, the agency said. One person who died after an ARC inflator explosion was Marilyn Boudon, a 40-year-old mother of 10 from Michigan's Upper Peninsula. She was struck by metal fragments when her 2015 Chevrolet Traverse SUV was involved in a minor crash in 2021. Boudon and 4 of her sons had been on their way to get ice cream. The sons were not hurt. Wow. That's how you end a story. That is crazy. All right, my friends. So, now, a couple of key points here. This is the ARC is just the new name for the Takata airbags. Takata is the original name of the creator or manufacturer of these airbags. And this recall has been going on for at least since 2015. I think even prior to that. But originally it was a replacement of the Takata airbags for this exact same reason. The rupturing, the shrapnel flying out to you, hurting you in an accident. So I literally have been doing this recall pretty much, I'm telling you, like ever since, in pretty much every dealership that I worked at since I've been out here in California. From Hyundai to Honda to GMC to Chrysler, everybody had the Takata airbags in their vehicles. They call them ARC on this thing, but it's the Takata airbag recall. That's what it is. And you know, it's been an uphill battle for a long time for a lot of these dealerships because the new airbags are hard to come by. They ship them out to you in like groups of like 10 or 15. And the list of people that are getting these airbag recalls is, of course, magnificent. To the point where people will call in because they've received the airbag recall letter, and we have to put them on a list. This was in like 3 dealerships. At least I know at Hyundai, over at Honda it was the same over at Honda, and then I want to say it was the same over at Chrysler. You had to put people down on a list, and then, you know, when a set of airbags came in, of course, you would sector a airbag for each person on the list until, you know, you ran out that list, and then you add more people to the list. It's a horrible process because they're not making these recall parts in mass. So, you know, it's slow. There's a lot of people have to recall. Everybody receiving a letter. They're all getting scared because they're receiving a letter stating that they're going to get killed if their airbag ruptures and explodes on them. You know, so and what it did was it forced a lot of people to just rush to the dealerships when they got that letter. And they be complaining, oh, you know, I can't drive my car no more because, you know, if I get in an accident, it's going to kill me because it's going to rupture. And you had to ease them down. You know, hey, you know, this has only happened to one car, you know, in forever. It's not a situation where this is happening all the time. This is a precaution. They're replacing it for a precaution. But you know, people are not hearing that. They're not trying to understand that, you know, because the letters, you had to see these letters. They were fear-inducing to some degree to get a person to come in and get the recall done. And then, of course, you know, dealerships streamlined it to the point so the recalls wouldn't take extremely long time. But it was still a big old mess because, you know, the availability of the parts that you need to replace, scheduling the customer to come in to get the parts replaced, putting them into a vehicle if you need it for more than a day in some of these cases. So these recalls are just, it's a hassle. And that's really why they're starting to back up away from this, because they've, you know, as you see it, there's not a lot of cases of, you know, it happening. It's not a lot of cases. They can't point to a lot of cases where these bags have ruptured. And it wasn't even a lot of cases back in the day. But if you know, after a vehicle comes out and it happens, it's reported. So it becomes a technical service bulletin. And then, you know, depending on how it's reported, it eventually becomes a recall. And the dealerships are obligated to get it done. And so of course the letters start to go out. It just, the reason that they're backing away from it is because it's just been the ultimate of hassles for most dealerships, almost all dealerships, because almost all dealerships got their airbag inflators from Takata or ARC or whatever they call them now. So they want to, they're what they're trying to do is ease the burdens that the automakers are dealing with. Automakers are suffering left and right. Everybody understands, everybody knows it. And this is just one of those things that is just a nuisance for most dealerships. And of course, dealerships don't get paid any significant amount of money for doing this, so it's not something that is beneficial to them. So it's just a attempt for not only the government, but all of the automakers, all of the entities that deal with the automotive industry. This is just a way to ease the burden as much as they possibly can for these automakers, because they know that they're suffering right now, and this is just a thing that they've been having to deal with for so long, and they come to the point where they feel that it's not that big a deal, and they're gonna try to let it go because there's bigger fish to fry. All right, let's keep going. So next up, what we're gonna do is, there's, because automakers are suffering so much, and cars are just sitting on lots. A lot of cars are just going to go by the wayside in the next year, and a lot of good cars, I would say personally. But I mean, it's going to be a situation where these dealerships, these automakers, are going to have to uh, purge their ranks and just get rid of vehicles that just are not up to snuff, not making enough money, not doing what they need to do to stay above the rest. So let's go through a list of cars that are potentially leaving us in 2025. Let's see if any of these cars are one of your cars, because if it is, you might want to make some moves. Alright, so we're over at Yahoo News. Going to check out USA Today. It's the end of the road for these cars, models that won't make it to 2025. Alright, so a number of car models won't ring in the new year. The Ford Edge, Toyota Venza, and Mini Clubman are some of the vehicles that will make it past model year 2024 in U.S. markets. Automakers are axing a surprising number of SUVs this year, according to Nick Yicken, senior news editor at automotive research site Edmunds. SUVs are typically among the most popular styles in the U.S., accounting for nearly 58% of sales in the first 10 months of 2024, according to data from Edmunds. Spot a favorite car on this list. Now may be the time to act, but not all of these vehicles saying goodbye for good. Alright, don't be afraid. There's a chance some of these cars live on and have successors. You can say there are a couple cars that aren't going to go away forever. Let's go through this list. Okay, so starting off with the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio and Stelvio Quadrifoglio. Availability for the Giulia and Stelvio models in the U.S. after 2024, according to a statement from Alfa Romeo. The brands are saying goodbye to North America for now, according to a LinkedIn post from Larry Dominique, Senior Vice President, Head of Alfa Romeo North America. The decision comes as the automaker shifts to focus to electric vehicles, but this is not the end of the story, Dominique said in the post. Alright, this is, I had a Giulia for a little bit, black Giulia, liked it, only had it for a couple weeks. Started having brake problems, so I gave that thing back. But I mean, they nice cars. They have some serious brake problems. I ran to a lot of Alfa Romeo vehicles that have brake problems to the point where the rotors that they put on these vehicles rusted to the point where the lug nuts was rust onto them and the wheels would rust onto them. It's a big problem that I found with these vehicles. Other than that, they were pretty nice vehicles. Alright, next up we got the Audi A5 Coupe and Convertible. While the A5 will still be available as a Sportback in 2025, the Coupe and Convertible options will be gone after 2024 model year. The shift comes as Audi prepares to restructure its lineup with plans to introduce 20 new or improved models before the end of 2026, half of which will be electric. Now, we've been talking a lot about Audi lately. They closed that factory over in Brussels, so which is going to pretty much eliminate the Audi Q8 Tron, or they have to build it somewhere else. I'm still dealing with the issue of getting that bumper for that Q8 Tron that I have in my shop right now. That's supposed to be coming from Brussels, so that's an issue in itself. But a lot of these models, what we're going to find is they're getting rid of these models because they have to make room for their EVs, and Audi is no different than anybody else. Chevrolet Camaro. Okay, Chevrolet in March 2023 announced plans to retire the 6th generation Camaro at the end of the model year 2024, with the final vehicles coming off the assembly line in January 2024. While we are not announcing an immediate successor today, rest assured this is not the end of Camaro's story, Scott Bell, Vice President of Global Chevrolet, said in 2023 statement. And you already know it's a Camaro, so them things come and go left and right all the time. They probably get rid of it, bring it back in like 2026 with some EV engine that sounds stupid, but it's the Camaro, and that thing. This is par for the course of how they're trying to get rid of muscle cars. They've been, I don't know what it is, but they've been trying their best to just eliminate muscle cars from our roadways from quite some time. This is just one of those steps in that direction. Get rid of the Camaro. It's just it's really a attack on American automakers. For me, that's how it feels to me. All right, so Ferrari SF90 Strato and 812 GTS. Ferrari's SF90 Strato and 812 GTS have been phased out according to an August financial report. Okay, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Ferrari got to, cut the fat too. It is what it is. I mean, Ferrari is one of the companies that doesn't have to do a lot of marketing, so, you know what I mean? It's, I mean, they probably just ain't selling as many. Rich people just ain't into the Ferraris now. Most of the rich folks is turning their Ferraris in for Tesla Cybertrucks anyway, so that's not surprising. Fisker Ocean. Magna International, a company contracted to build the Fisker Ocean electric SUV, continues to assume no further production after the automaker filed for bankruptcy in June, according to comments made by Patrick McCann, Fisker's chief financial officer, during an August earnings call in November. McCann said Fisker is behind us. Oh, that's messed up. Fisker did not respond to a request for comment. Now, we have been killing Fisker on this show for many a moon. We've done several shows about Fisker and its downfall, how it was the cancel culture got them, and the many electrical problems that their vehicles is having. So this is definitely not a surprise for us. Once they hit bankruptcy, we knew that it was just downhill. We thought that Fisker would be smart enough to partner with somebody just like our next story, but they never did. So yeah, Fisker is gonna be out the door, my guy. Ford Edge. Ford ended production of Edge SUV at its Oakville assembly plant in the Canadian province of Ontario to retool for new vehicles. The automaker said in a statement earlier this year, the company plans to expand production of its F-Series Super Duty truck, one of the brand's most popular and profitable vehicles, to Oakville starting next year. In a statement on Ford's website, President and CEO Jim Farley said the automaker has struggled to meet demand for the Super Duty, and this move benefits our customers and supercharges our Ford Pro commercial business. All right, so once again, they're getting rid of some unpopular item and going to move the production of a popular item to the factory where they was getting the unpopular item. This is going to be a lot of stuff like that. It's just going, just like we're saying, it's going to be a lot of getting rid of the old stuff to bring in new stuff. A lot of getting rid of the gas engine vehicles for the electric vehicles. And it's just going to be that way for a little bit. So a couple more, let's check it out. Infiniti Q50. The Q50 sedan from Nissan's luxury division, Infiniti, will not be available in the U.S. and Canada after the 2024 model year, according to a statement from Infiniti spokesperson Ashley Bobo. We are transitioning our product portfolio and moving to our electrified era, Bobo told USA Today. With this in mind, we've made the decision to focus resources toward models in our core luxury segments, continuing our promise to deliver 4 new models in the coming years. All right. Jaguar XE, XF, F-Type, I-Pace, and E-Pace. Jaguar XE, XF, F-Type sports car, I-Pace electric SUV, and E-Pace SUV will be discontinued after the 2024 model year as the automaker prepares to relaunch its brand in 2026. The F-Pace SUV will live on. A statement from Jaguar said the company expects U.S. retailers to have sufficient inventory of some current models, especially the F-Pace and the Lamborghini Huracan. The Italian automaker ended the life cycle of the Huracan sports car to make room for tomorrow's launch in August, according to a statement from the company. And Maserati Ghibli. Miss my Ghibli. Production of Ghibli sports sedan ended in late 2023, according to a statement from the company. The first Ghibli, named after a powerful warm wind in North Africa that carries with it a great deal of sand, was unveiled at the Turin Motor Show in 1966, according to the company's website. Alright, so yeah, of course, had a couple of Ghiblis, not had, but worked on, worked at a dealership that, it was a Maserati dealership. And this is what I was talking about. The rotor system they put in these vehicles was horrible, and it would always rust to the point where you would have to break the lug nuts off. It was crazy. Mini Clubman. British auto brand Mini ended production of the second generation Clubman, a small station wagon introduced in 2015 as a 2016 model year in February. Spokesperson Andrew Coulter said a direct third generation replacement is not planned. Instead, a fully electric Mini Aceman crossover model will fill this space with the global Mini model portfolio. The automaker has deferred market availability of the new Aceman in the US and Canada until a later date, according to Cutler. Alright, and that is that. So, let us pray that not one of your vehicles is on this list. And a lot of these cars, of course, are just being removed because they're not great sellers and they need to be gotten out of the way so that the new EV kids can come onto the block. A lot of these cars are bad cars. Let's face it, a lot of them had a lot of problems. Specifically the Ghibli, the Clubman, definitely had a lot of problems. Don't know very much about the Hurricane. The Ford Edge had a lot of problems. Jaguar didn't have a lot of problems. They trying to go woke, I guess. So, that's a weird one on me. We knew Fisher was going to be out the way. Ferrari got to make way for new stuff. They definitely trying to get rid of all of our muscle cars. So Camaro looks like going to be the first one to get chopped off the neck. So, it's just one of those things where this is going to be a lot more cars on this list. Let's face it. There's going to be a lot of cars. A lot of these automakers, specifically here in the U.S., the U.S. automakers are going to have to cut down on their stock. They're going to have to cut down on their choices. It's just going to be a thing that they're definitely going to have to do because they don't have, and I talk about this all the time, they just don't have the market share to have all these models available. They just don't have it. Alright, last but not least, we are going to check out the Honda-Nissan merger, which I've been telling y'all was going to happen for a long time. I've been talking about it forever. And it's weird for me that it was Honda and Nissan first. Well, it ain't that weird. People out that way just, work together a little bit better than people this way. It is what it is. But, and I was talking just like Fisker, they should have been trying to do this exact same thing. But Honda and Nissan decided they were going to start their merger process and get together so they can, fight the big conglomerates, as it were. And, this is just the beginning, guys. Let's check it out.
many questions remain. It's not clear what and when and what shape the partnership will form. We're not sure if it's a merger, production will be overlapped, or if it's a capital tie-up. We've had an executive tell us that they're also considering the option of a holding company, which would strengthen Honda's stake as well. So the questions definitely outnumber the answers, but as you said, this is kind of an interesting way for the story to unfold in Japan. Essentially, if Honda forms a partnership with Nissan and potentially Mitsubishi Motor, beyond the alliances it's had in the past, this would effectively split the Japanese auto industry into two. The Honda camp with Nissan and Mitsubishi, and then Toyota with Subaru, Mazda, and Suzuki. While Honda and Nissan's production pale in comparison to that of Toyota, this would spell a lot of interesting implications for their global competitiveness as well in regards to hybrids in North America and EVs in China.
I want to talk about the market reaction, because I think it's quite clear there today. You've got obviously Honda that's under pressure. Investors really like this for Nissan and Mitsubishi in particular. Why are we seeing that divergence, and what's in it for each of the car makers?
That's another interesting point as well. For Nissan, the benefits are pretty obvious. The company's been in a lot of financial trouble recently. Poor profit during the last quarter and over the last year or so in the US and China forced the company to lay off thousands of workers, pare back production capacity, and lower its annual fiscal outlook for the current period. For Honda, the answers aren't so clear. Whether Nissan will help bolster its production in North America remains to be seen. It all really depends on how the partnership shakes out. But that's I think, one of the big questions moving forward.
Nicholas, and I know you may likely not have an answer to this, and I think to your point, you make a very important distinction here that we still don't know in what form, if this does push through. But I guess what I want to understand is, because these are domestic giants in Japan, and I'm wondering if we get to a point where there is some form of a merger here, I wonder if you could give us a sense of what potentially the regulatory hurdles that we'll need to talk about at that point in time, Nicholas.
Yeah, that's another interesting point, and we're getting into sort of gray area speculation. The talk of a Honda-Nissan merger isn't necessarily new. This has been happening for some years now, as we see the general decline of Japanese car makers in North America and China, least of all with the advent of EVs, as you know. But with the Honda-Nissan merger, there has been speculation that the government would push for this in a time of great weakness for Nissan. There was speculation about Renault stepping in, but Japanese car makers have been struggling on a lot of fronts, and for the country to lose a company like Nissan on such short notice would be a real hit to the economy. Honda recently pared back its partnership with GM. Nissan is just finalizing its loosening of ties with Renault as well. And so while the Honda and Nissan alliance would spell a lot of bolstered output abroad, it remains to be seen sort of what dynamics are the main motivation for this.
And, well, of course, the main motivation is to stay alive, because most of these companies are suffering. Honda. Now, you talked a minute there about Honda's cooperation with GM and how GM makes a lot of Honda's parts over in Mexico. And I talked about that not that long ago, how they make the Honda Prologue in Mexico at GM. And so Honda has had its hand in pretty much all these other automakers for a long time. Honda is one of those companies that has no problem spreading their wealth, merging with people, assisting, but as long as they, get something out of it, reciprocity, you gotta reciprocate with Honda. Honda has mergers with GM, about to merge with Nissan. Honda is one of those guys that has no problem stepping out, talking to you about getting together so we can make some money together. Most of these automakers have not been like that, and that is the problem. I've been saying this for a long time. Specifically for our U.S. automakers, we have to start getting together and working together. And that's a big thing that I think, that we hope that Trump does once he gets into office, is make sure that U.S. automakers consolidate to some degree to make sure that we are the king automakers here in the U.S. That is what is important for us. And like they were saying in the piece was that, you know, the government was pushing for Honda and Nissan to get together because the government knows that it relies on these automakers for for workers, for employment, for the people, for the taxes that they generate, for the import and export that they generate. So the government has a great stake that these companies succeed, and that has to be a thing that the government here in America thinks as well. We have to realize that these companies here in America, for us as a nation to succeed, the companies here have to succeed too. I mean, we have to, of course, have good competition. They have to do the right things when it comes to doing business here in America, but we need our companies to succeed so that our people succeed. And what Honda and Nissan is proving, what Honda has proven for a long time, is one great way to succeed is to get together with people and help them where they're short, and they can help you where you're short. It's just a situation where alliances do help. And Honda and Nissan has been talking about this for a long time. I've been telling you that they've been talking about it for a long time. It has been announced, and we'll see what it does in the future for Honda and Nissan as they go forward, because like most automakers, they are suffering, and this partnership should be a benefit to both of them. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. I'm over here ranting and raving. Okay, thank you for tuning to the show. Please like, share, subscribe. Check me out. Hit me in the DMs. Ask me any questions you want to. And I'm out. Peace.